The sun had just begun to rise over the quiet town of Millidge, painting the sky in soft strokes of pink and gold. The streets were still, the air crisp and clean, and the only sound was the steady echo of footsteps on the pavement. Henry Carter walked slowly, his silver hair catching the first light of dawn, his lined face telling the story of a long life. Full, yes, but heavy with a sadness that hadn't lifted in over a year. Today was the worst kind of anniversary. Rocky would have turned 12. Rocky. Just thinking his name sent a familiar ache through Henry's chest, a hollow space where joy used to live. For 10 years, Rocky had been his shadow, his confidant, his best friend. They'd walked these same streets every morning, rain or shine, snow or sun. Rocky would stop to sniff every fire hydrant, chase every leaf that danced on the breeze, and always, always wait for Henry at the crosswalk, tail wagging like a metronome, keeping time with his heart. But a year ago, that rhythm had shattered. It had started like any other morning. They'd stepped out just after sunrise, the air sweet with the promise of spring. A cat darted across the road. Rocky pulled. The leash slipped. And then, a screech of tires, a thud that echoed through the neighborhood, and silence. Henry had run, cradled Rocky's still body in his arms, whispering desperate pleas into his fur. Strangers gathered. Someone called for help. Animal control arrived. In his shock, Henry had nodded numbly as they carried Rocky away, promising he'd be taken to a vet, that everything would be okay. But nothing was okay. When Henry tried to find out where they'd taken him, the trail vanished. No clinic had records. The officer who'd responded couldn't be reached. It was as if Rocky had been erased from the world, and Henry's heart had been buried with him. Now every morning he walked the same route, not for company, not for hope, but because it was the only way to feel close to the life he'd lost. And every morning he ended up at the Millidge Animal Shelter. The shelter was small, its blue paint peeling in places, but to Henry, it was a sanctuary, a place of second chances for animals who'd known too much pain. He'd started volunteering after Rocky passed, hoping the work would ease the emptiness. It hadn't, not really, but it gave him something to do with his hands, his time, his grief. "Morning, Henry," Rachel called as he stepped inside. She was the shelter's young manager, kind-eyed and tireless. She'd known Henry for years, had seen him and Rocky walking through town, had watched him crumble when Rocky disappeared. She smiled, but it faltered when she saw how tired he looked. Rough morning? Henry gave a small, weary smile that didn't reach his eyes. Just one of those days. Rocky would have turned 12 today. Rachel's expression softened. "I'm so sorry, Henry. I know how much you miss him." Henry nodded, cleared his throat. "No point in sitting in it. What do you need help with today?" Before she could answer, a noise came from the back of the shelter. Low, desperate whimpers, then anxious barks that rose in pitch like a plea. Rachel's face fell. "Not again. It's the new arrival, a German shepherd. Came in last night. He's been abused badly. We can't even get near him." Henry felt a sharp pang in his chest. A familiar ache, but sharper, deeper. "Mind if I try?" Rachel hesitated. Be careful. He's scared. We don't know what he might do." Henry walked slowly toward the isolation area in the back. The sounds grew louder. Whimpers, growls, the scrape of nails on concrete. His heart pounded, though he didn't know why. Then he saw him. In the far corner of the last kennel, a large German shepherd huddled, trembling violently. His coat was dull, matted with dirt. Scars crisscrossed his body. Old wounds, new bruises, signs of cruelty that made Henry's stomach turn. His eyes were wide with terror, darting around the small space like he was searching for an escape that didn't exist. Henry crouched slowly, keeping his movements calm, his voice gentle. "Hey there, buddy. It's okay. No one's going to hurt you here." The dog froze. Then something astonishing happened. His trembling stopped. His wild eyes locked onto Henry's. And in that gaze, Henry saw something he hadn't seen in a year. Recognition. The fear melted. The dog's tail gave a single tentative wag. And then tears welled in his eyes, spilling over as he let out a soft, broken cry. "Rachel," Henry called, his voice shaking. "Come here. Now." Rachel rushed over and gasped. The dog who had been impossible to approach just moments ago was now pressed against the kennel door, his eyes never leaving Henry's, his whole body radiating a desperate, aching love. "I don't believe it," Rachel whispered. "It's like he knows you." Henry couldn't move. His hands began to shake. That look in the dog's eyes, it was Rocky. It had to be. Slowly, Henry reached for the latch. "Henry, wait!" Rachel began, but before she could finish, the door swung open. The German shepherd burst out, not with aggression, but with joy. He ran straight at Henry, knocking him gently to the ground, then began licking his face over and over, his whole body wiggling with unrestrained happiness. Henry wrapped his arms around him, tears streaming down his face. "Rocky," he whispered, voice breaking. "Rocky, is that really you?" The dog barked, a soft, quiet sound, and buried his face in Henry's chest. There was no doubt. This was Rocky. Somehow, impossibly, his best friend had come back. As Henry held him close, memories flooded back. The accident, the strangers, the vanishing act. Rocky hadn't died that day. He'd survived. But someone had taken him, hurt him, used him, probably for dogfighting, judging by the scars. He'd been lost, afraid, broken. But he'd never forgotten Henry. "Oh, Rocky," Henry choked out, stroking his fur. "What did they do to you, boy? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Rachel stood nearby, tears in her eyes. "We need to get him checked out. He's been through so much." Henry nodded, not letting go. "Of course, but I'm not leaving his side. Not again." The next few hours were a blur. Dr. Martinez arrived, examined Rocky, and confirmed what they'd feared. Old fractures, malnutrition, scars from fights. But she also saw something else, resilience. "He's been through hell," she said, "but with love and care, he'll heal. He's stronger than he looks." Henry never left his side. Later, Rachel approached with a serious expression. "Henry, technically, he's still a shelter dog. There's paperwork." Henry's heart dropped, but then she smiled. "That said, I think we can make an exception. Fill out the forms, but Rocky can go home with you today. He's already shown us exactly where he belongs." Relief washed over Henry like a wave. "Thank you," he said, voice thick with emotion. "You have no idea what this means." Word spread fast. By the time Henry stepped outside with Rocky by his side, a small crowd had gathered. Neighbors, friends, people who remembered the man and his dog who used to walk these streets every morning. Mrs. Whitaker, Henry's neighbor of 30 years, pushed through the group, tears in her eyes. "Oh, Henry, it's a miracle." Rocky leaned into Henry's leg, overwhelmed but not fearful. Henry smiled down at him. "It's okay, boy. These are all friends." The walk home was slow. Rocky was weak, but his tail wagged faster with every step. By the time they reached the front porch, he was tugging forward with growing excitement. Henry's hands shook as he unlocked the door. The moment it opened, Rocky bolted inside, barking, running from room to room, rediscovering every scent, every corner, every memory. Henry followed, tears in his eyes. Rocky found his old bed by the fireplace, still there, untouched, waiting. He circled once, lay down with a peaceful sigh. Henry sank into his armchair. "Welcome home, Rocky," he whispered. "Welcome home." The days that followed were a slow return to life. Rocky's body healed under Henry's care. Better food, medicine, long naps in the sun. But his heart took longer. Some nights he'd wake trembling, whimpering from nightmares Henry couldn't see. Henry would sit beside him, stroking his fur, whispering, "You're safe now, boy. I've got you." Bit by bit, Rocky began to trust again. He chased squirrels. He pounced on his old squeaky toy. He wagged at the mailman. And Henry laughed, really laughed. For the first time in over a year, the house didn't feel empty. It felt full of hope. Their story spread. First local news, then national. People were moved by the miracle reunion of an old man and his loyal German shepherd. At first, Henry resisted the attention, but Rachel reminded him, "Your story could help others. It could change how people see German shepherds." And so, Henry agreed. They made appearances, shared their story. Rocky, once afraid of crowds, now walked calmly beside Henry, tail wagging, eyes warm. One afternoon in the park, a young woman approached, nervous, holding her husband's arm. "I've always been scared of big dogs," she admitted. "But after hearing about Rocky, could I pet him?" Henry nodded. "Just let him sniff your hand first." Rocky sat politely. She reached out. He leaned into her touch. Her fear melted into wonder. "He's so sweet," she whispered. As they walked away, she was already talking about visiting the shelter. That was the real miracle. Rocky's pain had become a bridge. On the 1-year anniversary of their reunion, Henry and Rachel organized a community event in the town park. A celebration of second chances, a fundraiser for the shelter. Hundreds came, families, rescue dogs, kids with drawings of Rocky. Rocky moved through the crowd like a gentle king, calm, kind, full of quiet joy. As the sun set, Henry stood to speak. "1 year ago," he began, voice steady, "I thought I'd lost my best friend forever. The pain nearly broke me, but fate had other plans." He looked down at Rocky, who leaned against his leg. "Rocky's journey back to me wasn't easy. He went through hell, But what amazes me most is this: he never stopped loving, never stopped trusting. He looked out at the crowd, at the tearful eyes, the smiling faces, the children hugging their own rescue dogs. This story isn't just about a man and his dog. It's about second chances, about healing, about looking past fear and seeing what's real underneath. He gestured to the shelter volunteers. Every day, animals wait in shelters for someone to see them, not as broken, but as whole, as worthy, as capable of love. His voice grew strong. Whether you adopt, volunteer, or just tell someone this story, you can change lives, for the animals and for the people who need them too. The crowd erupted in applause. Rocky barked once, happy, proud. Henry knelt and wrapped his arms around him. In that moment, surrounded by hope, by community, by love, Henry felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. The sadness didn't disappear, but it no longer defined him. What remained was gratitude. Gratitude for a second chance. As twilight fell, Henry and Rocky began their walk home. Rocky's muzzle had gray hairs now. Henry's steps were slower, but their bond, stronger than ever. Forged in loss, tempered by pain, made sacred by reunion. Henry glanced down. Rocky looked up, eyes full of love. No words needed. Just a lifetime of friendship. A promise to never take a single moment for granted again. As they turned onto their street, the porch light glowed softly in the distance. Their home. Henry smiled. Whatever tomorrow brought, he was ready. Because now they were together, and that was enough. Sometimes, all it takes is one story to remind us who we are. If this one touched you, share it. Someone out there needs it more than you know.